Join us as we enter the mines of Moria. Thanks for joining us this morning as we review the first of the Lord of the Rings movies during our Tolkien Week, the 20th anniversary of the theatrical release of The Return of the King, coming up this Sunday. The Fellowship of the Ring, otherwise known as What Do They Eat If They Don't Get Hobbits? We're skipping the synopsis as we did yesterday and going straight into the analysis and nostalgia. This live stream is for those who have seen the movies. And if you haven't yet, do yourself a favor, turn this live stream off, go watch them, or better yet, read the books. And I'm going to make sure I'm showing spoiler. This week is Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. So we're dedicating, if you're joining us for the first time on this video, we're dedicating this week to Tolkien. And yesterday was The Hobbit. We did all three movies, and the one book, all three movies.
I've already say almost like it was just one book.
Almost just like it was one book. Very well. I thought it was well done. And then we hit the Lord of the Rings trilogy, which this is even, I believe, better. I put this easily at a 10.
Oh yeah,
all three of these.
Oh yeah.
For my family, I tell the kids, you cannot watch that without your father, and we must wait until a good snow day. So we're all packed in together, cuddled before the fire, like a bunch of good hobbits, watching the Lord of the Rings trilogy as the snow gently covers the house, and we freeze to death. No, it's good because we really enjoy it. So I get after the kids, they're watching it on their own. So we are definitely in spoiler territory if you have not seen it. We also did a poll. Would you say this is probably one of your favorite movies?
I would say it is. It's been a long time since I've watched it, but I've watched it probably like 90 times. So yeah, I've got some experience with it.
Did you read the stories also beforehand?
I did audiobooks versions.
You did the audiobooks first.
Well, I actually watched the movies first, then did the audiobooks version. I was like, man, the books are so much better. But the movies are still pretty gone good.
Okay, I am going to show. Does that pop up correctly? Here, sorry about this.
Should be
down below. Okay, so we did a poll, and I'm trying to bring the poll up to show what was your favorite Hobbit. We got a good response, and this time I did say specifically what Tolkien race that we're looking for. That we actually do say it properly, and I do want to show. It's not coming up. Oh,
that was weird. Okay.
Yeah, had to push play. Okay, sorry about that.
Push play on a screenshot, which is odd.
Okay, so the winner of your favorite Hobbit in Lord of the Rings
not out
explaining
of everyone.
The contents. Yeah, I was a little surprised.
Wow,
he really
not out of Frodo.
Mr. Frodo, he really beat him. Now, I want to know why.
Because he's such a likable character.
Well,
I mean, seriously,
I'm going to open that
loyal
up.
Friend, and
yeah,
doggone it, man.
But still, that far,
he deserved
80,
it.
76,
he deserved it.
76. Okay, and I promised to read the comments, so we're going to put some of those up there. Isgul said, "Merry is my favorite. I always enjoyed the journey he and Pippin took, and how they interacted with Treebeard and drank his Treebeard drink, grew tall, and smoked old Toby." What's that?
The books had a better ending for them, though.
Yeah, we'll cover that. We'll cover that.
Much better, but that's also in the Return of the King.
Yes, but who is taller, Merry or Pippin? And you said Merry, obviously the tall one, unless it's Pippin.
Pippin.
And then Ryan Schultz said Frodo gets a bad rap because he appeared to be corrupted by the ring and was unable to finish the job. But he was the only one who was willing to take it in the first place. I imagine any Hobbit that would have carried that ring the same thing would have happened to them maybe even sooner. And then I said, I don't think I could have done it. Then we have Adam said, Frodo in the books, Sam in the movies. And I had to ask him, wait a minute, it's been a while since I've read the books. Why? Why that difference? And he said, Sam is the same. Sam is the same. I would say that I would go with Frodo only from the movies. He isn't as much of a hero, and they made him kind of a cowardly, clumsy. In the books, Frodo is heroic, quite heroic. So I'd say that those are some pretty good answers and some pretty good responses.
Yeah, I'd say they did him dirty in the movie, but I still thought he was pretty decent.
I thought he was pretty good.
You're right. If it's between Frodo and Sam, Sam was just...
I don't know. I think
it's the loyal friend that never gives up on you, always perseveres there for you.
Yeah, but he was so crushed under the weight of the ring. He had limited scope for what he could do. He was just so burdened. Where that's where Sam could shine because he was such a loyal friend.
That's what I'm saying. He had the opportunity to shine a lot more too. So people would pay attention to that. You might want to check the comments.
Yes, good idea. Okay.
Potatoes.
Here, you put that up there.
Potatoes.
Yes. Okay, and then we have a Team Sam. Gosh, you guys, we need to start selling T-shirts or something.
Team Sam.
So
forget Edward and the whole vampire thing. Let's go with Team Sam or Team Frodo.
I want to caution that to say that we're going to be looking at Christian themes, but one of the problems with looking at this is we're not saying that this is a Christian story. We mentioned this yesterday when we talked about the Hobbit. The Lord of the Rings is not a Christian story as much as it is a story with a Christian foundation that permeates it so much that it becomes transparent to the story. And this is something I think it's really, really important to what makes a good story. Once you start to try to push things into it and not let the characters naturally do what they're going to do or twist the plot so it has to go a certain direction, that's where you start to sort of ruin the story. And I would again say that last week we saw a movie that they did not do this in, and that was The Shift. It seemed like the story itself
drove
it, which was good. By the way, I'm going to say that again. Go see The Shift while it's still in theaters, if you can. Hopefully it's available someplace.
Obviously, we really liked it, considering how many times we've mentioned watching it.
Yes. So one of the things I want to pull out now, I'm going to do this do the themes over all 3 movies.
Should we go through the movie itself?
Yes, we should. Would you like to?
I'll take the driver's seat.
Okay, take the driver's seat.
Let's do this bugger.
All right. And then we'll pull out the themes. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little antsy on the themes. That's what we're looking for.
So it starts off with an epic battle between humanity, elves, and the dark forces.
Yes. When I saw this in a theater, I was like, whoa.
Oh yeah.
It was awesome. So having read the books, one of the problems with reading a book and going to a movie is you have a picture in your mind of what things were like.
And that's the dangerous part, because if you don't do that right with a story,
oh yeah, you
can get your audience completely just absolutely.
You're never going to get it. You're never going to get the same picture as somebody has in their mind when they're reading a book. They're gonna see it in a certain light, in a certain direction. And this is when you do a movie. But that was awesome.
Yeah, and then there's also the intro of the bad character that you've got to do right. Because if you don't do it right, you end up just with a Kylo Ren situation where it's like, really?
And they also have a voiceover in the beginning with Galadriel.
Yeah.
Speaking over. And that was a good intro.
So let's see. The intro of the baddie.
Oh. Yes, powers over.
I mean, just absolutely demolishing them, walking in. That's how you do a bad guy. Kills the king. His son has to take up the sword and take out the bad guy.
Ouch.
Again, really well done. Won't be exactly what the audience was thinking of or whenever they were reading the book, but that was really well done. And again, that lends this to being such an epic classic of a movie.
Yeah. I don't know, man. The imagery that they had in this was top notch. Whether it was where they filmed in New Zealand, just the beauty and the majesty of the background, the mountains and everything, and then just introducing Sauron in that way. You have these two armies that are clashing. He walks onto the field, and everybody just stands back.
I mean, it was just epic at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
And that's how it starts it off.
Sets that stage.
You're in the middle, at least at the beginning of this huge battle here for Middle Earth, trying to set the stage and say, okay, this is the thing. And then you have the betrayal there where he chose to keep the ring. And it was like, we have victory. It's in our grasp, but they failed.
Men are weak.
They failed. They couldn't do it themselves and failed.
Yeah. So I think I was thinking about this. I was watching the movie again recently to get ready for this. And I was wondering, is this where the Dead Marshes were?
Yes. This was Dead Marshes.
Okay. So you see these barren fields now, and these bodies are just being scattered. Later on in the movie, you have them come up to Frodo and Bilbo and Gollum come through these dead marshes, and they see the faces of these people that died. They're the bodies that are there, and they're still looking at them. They haven't decayed. And
that's from this battle here.
I think it might be.
And that that just ties it in so well together, because that has impacts in the future. So,
okay, I want to back up just a bit. We're talking. What's that?
Not that one.
No, I know. I do want to do this one.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, because we were talking about why did people choose Sam? This is why Sam's character is so good. All the Christian morals are there. Yes, I'm going to talk about that in a minute. You read my notes. Okay, not fair. Cheating. But concerning this, epic orchestral music is one of the important reasons that medieval-like movies are hard to go bad. Yeah,
the music of this. In fact, when I went and saw The Shift, I saw the commercial for the Return of the King going back into movies theaters, and they have a live orchestra for it. I don't know how much it's going to cost. It's probably a pretty penny. I'm not going to be able to go do it, but it's an interesting concept that they would have the live orchestra there playing the music as you're watching the movie.
That would be definitely a different sound than just hearing it on the speakers.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder if the emotions,
richer.
You can really reach somebody's emotions through the music like that too. Sets the mood for it. So yeah, very good. So you want to go on to the next?
Sure.
Next one.
So going through the movie, they go into Bagan and the Hobbits.
Yes.
And you see the peaceful life again, just like you did. Well, the Hobbit came along later on, but still the same sort of setting we did with the Hobbit.
I want to make note of this in a bit. When we talk about the themes, keep this in mind, because Tolkien loved nature. And so you see the lives of the hobbits within Hobbiton, the Shire, just living this almost idyllic lifestyle.
I would say that is the ideal. And again, I think this comes out of his experience through war.
Yeah.
Comes through with these sort of movies where this is the ideal. This is what he wants, is this sort of Hobbit lifestyle. The peace, the tranquility of it, the simpleness of it.
Yeah.
But there are times that you're called for something more, and you need to step up for the something more and sacrifice in order to preserve what was the good that you want.
Okay, so I have a quote from you brought this up, and I want to do it as a quote.
I didn't know about the quote. My defense, I didn't know about the quote. I was just going off of what I knew.
Yeah, as Bilbo once said, to live a simple life is the best of all. So above all, living a quiet and simple life. There's something really to be said about that. That's even scriptural too. We were just going over the Bible study with the kids last week, and that came up, to live a quiet and simple life. You know what? There is huge value to that. You're not getting anybody's business. You're just living a good life. That's huge. You want to do next clip?
Here in a little bit, but yeah, so you're pulled out from that nice quiet life and thrown into a battle where you're pursued by these dark forces who are pursuing you over hill and under hill and every which way. Then you get to Weathertop itself.
Yes.
And you confront these face to face, and they're revealed for what they are, which is rather interesting.
Yeah. So he sees it because he has the ring on. He can see what they look like. So these are the Nazgul, the 9 who took the rings of men from Sauron and gave them as gifts, but his gifts had strings attached.
Yep. Ended up corrupting them. And I think that there's actually a video game that does a real good job to this sort of concept. The Lord of the Rings video game. It's Shadow of War.
Is it Shadow of War or Shadow of Mordor?
Shadow of Mordor and then Shadow of War. There's two of them.
Okay.
And that did a really good job to this, kind of filled in some of the middle section because it happens all before the movies. And it's a real good tie-in on how the corruption happens and what happens. Even if you have really good intentions and are doing this because you want good, it ends up corrupting.
Right,
so
that's what happened with Boromir.
Yep, you take the dark power and you hold on to it, and it corrupts you, even if you are good-hearted.
Yeah.
So that was a really well done game.
We're gonna go over the 7 deadly sins and Christian virtues here in a bit, and show the contrasting them, and you can see where these are just general categories, they're not biblically specific, but they're just sins that fall into, and all sins are deadly anyway, but it falls into that. You can see how that would have corrupted these guys. The 7, the Nazgul, the kings of Angmar, I think.
Yeah. And they didn't have they weren't lined up with the 7 deadly sins or anything, but
just a way to look at it.
The way to look at it. Yeah. So they go through, they escape that situation. They survive barely. And then they end up going into Moria. So they keep going from one to the other. Well, no, they end up going to Rivendell first.
Right. Okay, so let's show the next clip. We don't need to do a whole synopsis. I just want to see the good stuff.
So entering into Moria, this actually ties back to the Hobbit in some ways, which was rather interesting.
Yes. You may have missed this. I did the first time. So that's Gimli rushing in. The place he was expecting all his kin to greet him. And he finds...
No.
They're dead. All dead.
Here lies Balin, son of Hundin, Lord of Moria.
That was Balin.
Yep. From the Hobbit. So
that is sad.
He dies there.
He was one of my favorites. He was like a grandfather figure.
One of the Hobbit, one of the dwarves that make a big impression in the Hobbit. Had a big part in the Hobbit.
Was he the one holding the book?
No, that was another one of the.
That was the youngest one.
Yeah, he was the one that was buried there.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so that's his.
That was his tomb.
That was his tomb.
That's where they buried him. That's where some of the other companions of the original group died defending their last.
Tolkien's so mean. He kills off his characters, which we'll get to in a minute. There's a reason for
this. Yeah. So obviously the Hobbit came out much later.
Yeah.
So you don't have the opportunity to make this connection. And again, that hits a lot deeper if you are aware of it once you actually look through it and see it again.
So we get a comment here.
Let me remove this because that's
Yeah,
blocking
can't see it.
half the comment.
Watching this movie 2 hours ago, I was wondering if Shire would be an ideal lifestyle from a Christian eye. I mean, they live a simple life. That's it. Yeah. I guess if you're a city dweller, love all the activity in a city, you know, late night stuff or whatever, and you can go shopping wherever you want, and you easy convenience, and you love being surrounded by the busyness of the thrust. I grew up in Los Angeles, so I have a lot of this in the background, but I live now in the country, and tell you what, I love this stuff. But I know it's not for everybody, but yeah, that could be there too. Let's put that up there because
hey, welcome
from Australia. Yeah, it's a long trip. I don't know how long it took you to get here, but yeah, that's the flight. I don't know what kind of
16-hour difference,
jet lag you're having here or anything, but that's really rough.
It's from Madagascar.
Appreciate that. Wow.
I know for Tasmania.
That is dedication, man. Okay. By the way, with spoilers, so just let you know, we're going through this and we're going through some clips on the movie.
Canada.
You were like next door. You don't get no jet lag. That doesn't work.
You Greece, man. What time is it there?
I did not realize that.
You're up late.
And let me say, from the bottom of my heart, Eucatastrophe.
His arms are tired. Sweet.
Okay, so we have another clip.
Yes, we do. And this is the epic fight. And this really comes into a whole nother level. And we'll probably refer to this in the theology one Friday. But this is the Balrog versus Gandalf.
Ooh.
I am a servant to the secret fire.
This is probably
Wielder of the flame of Arnor.
Yes.
The dark fire will not avail you. Flame of Udun! Go back to the shadow.
This is perfect. Class. This is so well done.
You shall not pass!
And you think this is it here. And he goes, they did a good job. Fly, you fools.
Well, good job until the whole falling off the edge thing. And you're like, oh, man, that took forever.
What do you mean?
Oh, slowly slipping off the edge.
Yeah, but it adds drama to the whole thing.
Do a spoof on, not spoof, but sort of a joke on that, where now Gandalf is going to the gym and all he's working on is upper body strength, so he can pull himself
he should
up.
have. Buttermilk, just pull yourself up, old man. It's easy. Little chin up. So we got talk about grip strength. So Mr. Threatened Sanity answered, and I can even read this, parakalo, which means thank you in Greek. Because nice. I said you're welcome. I said Efkaristo, which means it's, by the way, where you get the word Eucharist from. Okay. I love
those bits of history.
That one scene, you shall not pass.
That is in the culture now.
It is
so great.
And
everywhere.
We were talking about this being in culture. Sorry, I left that one up. I love this one. So, if you know these two characters, you know that's good. If you go to, and I would just love to dress up like this and do that at one of these events. But go back to this guy and take. Okay, so we got another one. We got another one coming up. Let me do this on the comments. Where is it? Particular, this one here. Okay.
So the final battle to get to of this one. So we had You Shall Not Pass, which again was just gotta be one of my favorite scenes in the entire one.
Spoiler alert, he died. Kind of. Sort of.
He pulls
The
Daniel.
Balrog.
The Horn of Gondor.
Oh, this was sad.
This is the setup to the next one. But
Next book.
yeah, this is really just.
Those Uruk-hai, man, they look tough.
They looked good. They did such a good job in. Again, it's been a long time since this was out, but yet those aged very well as far as how they did it and how they looked.
Yeah, you're talking about the orcs.
The orcs and the Uruk-hai. Yep.
So one thing that's different, I'm making this note right here. In the book, you do not necessarily, I believe, you do not have necessarily the redemption of Boromir. That it is more of a tragic ending, and I'm glad that they put. I know Tolkien likes the dark side, but I'm glad that they allowed Boromir to have his redemption in here. And he finally sees there's a whole tension between him and Aragorn about him not trusting Aragorn to be king. Because you can imagine his lineage, Boromir's lineage has been as the stewards of Gondor to protect the city. He's not just going to throw this away to some vagabond that comes up.
On top of that, I could very easily see his line and his parents been teaching him that basically the king's abandoned them.
Yeah.
They just up and left. They screwed us over and ditched.
Right. Yeah. So there's a lot of that animosity between them that is resolved in the end. And it was a touching scene to see that they're like brothers there at the end. It was very good.
So talking about that though.
Oh, I didn't know you had this. Gosh, what's this guy's name? That nasty Uruk-hai.
They did such a good job with the bad guy though.
Those hobbits are nasty with the rocks.
He did great as far as how he looks and everything.
Come on, Boromir's such a hero though, taking all them out. And dramatic with the statue looking over his shoulder.
Yep.
Like the kings of old.
The redemption there of that character. This is right after he tried to steal the ring from a hobbit, and then he ends up dying defending the hobbits.
Yeah. So he really does have his redemption in here. And I do, and this is the next movie. I don't want to get into it too much, but I do like the contrast between him and his younger brother Faramir. I want to throw this one comment in here. I'm not sure exactly New Zealanders I said that. And I don't see his arms are tired. New Zealanders. I don't know. But yeah, that is beautiful. Sorry, buddy. Your next door neighbor there in New Zealand has got some pretty beautiful country. I don't know if you've ever been there. I've never been there. I'd like to go there and check out. I don't know if they've set up like a tourist spot where they
I would have
land?
invested in that.
Yeah, because
I would if I would have owned that land. The first thing I would have done is as soon as they're done with the movie, like tell them to leave everything up.
Well, okay, so they did different locations like Rohan and things like that. So they would have to
definitely Rohan. I would keep that set up as a
maybe Rohan, definitely the Shire. I was definitely the
Rohan
Shire
and the Shire, and I'd have that as a tourist. I'd come in, I'd set it up. In fact, if it was just like facades they used, I would go in and build the actual buildings and invest some serious money into that, and then have it as a walk-through tourist attack.
But I don't know how far that's away from the airport, so it might be a little.
You could probably end up building an airport with how much money you'd be making off that thing.
Yes.
I'm not saying that would be a gold mine.
Yes, and we're selling tickets tomorrow. So
I wish.
We're looking at, with this movie, we set this up. We went through and just did a short synopsis of it. And we're going to do two things. One, we're going to talk about the themes that are in here. And then we're going to look at some of the differences between this and the book. And we're going to leave this all open for discussions as much as we can. And speaking of which, before I go into the next section, let me put this up here.
YouTube is messy.
You cannot see the comment I wrote above that. No.
So try write it again. It might be that YouTube's being screwy. I've had that happen where I've written comments and they haven't popped up. Definitely after I refresh the page, they're just gone. At the same time, if it's got a link in it, it won't have it.
Oh.
It'll automatically take it out. But it should put it into, hey, review this section, and then I deal with it.
Okay.
So,
all right, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next section, which is the Christian, the themes that come out in the movie. And we talked about this yesterday with the Hobbit, about the 7 deadly sins, which again, this is all sins are deadly, but this kind of wraps up into several. So we're looking at, I got to get rid of that comment. Hold on a second. Comments, get rid of that. Okay. So now we're looking at the 7 deadly sins and virtues that are you can see. And I'm going to ask this question because we had the favorite Hobbit was chosen as being Sam. And I want to look at this list and say, on this list, where does Sam rank? And you can almost think of these as being sliding scales going from one side to the other. The opposite of envy, kindness, the opposite of sloth being diligence, lust, chastity, and pride, humility, all these different things. So sort of like a sliding scale. Like you're creating this character in a role-playing game, and you gotta find out where this ends. So on Sam, where are we with patience, gluttony, greed, and so forth? So patience, I'd say he's right on top. He's very patient. With everybody except for Gollum, which we won't talk about. Then gluttony, no, he's got some temperance. Unless when it comes to potatoes.
Temperance as far as everything except for potatoes, but that almost makes him a little.
And gluttony is not just for food; it's for all things too. Greed or charity, definitely high on the charity spot. Kindness versus envy. Kindness. Sloth, diligent. No, he's very diligent. Lust, chastity. That's kind of hard to tell with him. If it's what the deal is.
Well, he ends up getting married. He does have kids.
Yeah, what was his name? Rosie? Rose?
Yeah, so whatever. He ends up coming back from his war, and he ends up getting married and has family. And...
The sexual drive is generally a good thing with some right context. It's a necessary thing for the procreation.
That's something that these movies did not have, was any of the... And this is something that I really enjoyed, was nothing really sexual.
No.
You had romances.
Yeah.
Which is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, you didn't have any sort of really sexual stuff.
You didn't need
it. Definitely when there's a lot of movies going on about the same time or series going on about the same time period, that was just heavily reliant on selling sex.
Right.
So it was a nice refresher.
Pride and humility, definitely humble. So one thing about humility is a lot of people think it's like you got to be facing the ground. Oh, I'm so terrible. No, humility is knowing your proper place in the universe. And Sam's place was protect his friend, be loyal, almost a servant mentality. I guess maybe that's why. You guys can tell me why he was ranked so high up, and I think that's probably it. So we got those virtuous things, and I think that's what makes this kind of written into this as a Christian movie, because these are values that are held in high esteem. We're going to take a look at this list with Gollum tomorrow. He's not so much in the Fellowship. He's a little bit in the Fellowship, but not so much. We're going to take a look at that. Yeah, see where he is on that. Just Gollum, not Schmeagol. Maybe we should probably compare the two, right?
Yeah. Split personality there.
So the reluctant hero to the courageous hero. This is at the beginning, just like Bilbo in The Hobbit. Now we have Frodo, and he takes his journey. My question is, the two are very similar, but how are they different? How does Frodo's journey compare with Bilbo's? They both leave the Shire. They both come back.
I'd say Frodo would be more driven out. He still takes this opportunity whenever he's in Rivendell. He stands up and says, I will do it. I will continue to take this all the way and see it through. But at the beginning, he's driven out not because of his choice, but because enemies are coming.
Yeah.
And he has to go. Bilbo chose still to go at the beginning.
Yeah, he was still a reluctant traveler. The other big thing I think is a difference between the two is the burden they carried. Frodo went knowing that he was they both went knowing that there's a good chance that they weren't going to come back. But Frodo is like, I'm going to make this sacrifice for everybody. I'm not just going for adventure's sake, but I'm making the sacrifice for everyone. So I think there's probably some other contrast in there too. But here you have this theme, though, the reluctant finds courage, and that's something we need, a part of masculinity. There's feminine courage too, but there's masculine courage when you go out there and you face these dragons. Or in this case,
gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
You gotta buckle down and take it.
I'm going to put up where there's a little bit of lag for the comments, but I'm going to put this up because this was to the previous question, answer a previous question. Sam is a person you want to be your best friend. Yes, definitely. You want him as your best friend. And you kind of want to be that kind of friend too, I think. That you want to be that loyal companion. There's something to aspire to. So that's a very good point. Which we did see Sam Austin, who played Sam, was in
the Shift.
In the Shift.
Nice to see him again. Nice to see the actor again.
Yes.
It's been a long time. I haven't seen him in very many other movies.
So one of the things that we said in this live stream is, did you spot this? The Christian symbolism in the fellowship unmasked. So this is the part of the unmasking that I really wanted to get to. Mentioned this last week. We mentioned this yesterday in talking about the Hobbit. One of the things that Tolkien has is there is this downward spiral that goes on. And part of that goes on is the destruction of nature for the sake of progress. To Tolkien, the machine is something far more menacing than a mere mechanical device. To him, it represents lust for power, and particularly the power over everyone. I'm not sure if this streamed from his experience or what he saw of the new death machines in World War I, because you have all the Clausian type of all these Clausian mentality. The nations read Klaus to build up their armaments, and they had all these new devices, the gas, they had the new tanks and everything. So these feelings that he had might have persisted even to his older age, and he didn't even drive. He didn't drive cars. So where do we see this struggle in the Fellowship of the Ring between the mechanical and the natural? And I'll throw that out as a question.
I think that most of it comes in the next one, in the Two Towers, a lot between the two, where you have industry, just tearing up trees and using it for firewood, and just, industrializing war.
Well, you do see it. You do see it with Isengard.
That's what I was referring to.
Okay.
But that's in the next movie.
No.
It's in this one?
He does. Well, he does start a bit because he does. He kind of, okay. So this goes back to Saruman, because he's got the plants here. His mind is being taken over by Sauron, and Tolkien. If you ever rewrite anything, I know you're dead now, but some of these names, Arwen and Erwin, and
don't make them so
similar. Distinctions. So
it makes it hard.
So Saruman his mind was corrupted because of the plants here. The enemy got a hold of him, and he starts, we need to make an army. We need to get busy. So he takes down all the trees in Fangorn. He starts taking them down. And that is in this movie. And he starts building this industry. So that's number one. And then Saruman spawning the Uruk-hai orcs. And he's trying to mimic what was going on in Mordor. It was in Tolkien's description of them was the orcs would be created and they worm their way out of the ground like maggots.
Yep, they did a very good job on that in the movie version. So now this book came out after World War II or before.
During this particular book
heavily influenced by World War II.
No,
yeah.
I don't know. That's a bit of a debate. I would say definitely World War I with his, because he was in the trenches.
Yeah, but he had students go off to this.
That's true.
He would have had the worst position, in my opinion, in World War II, because he gets to see all of his people he's invested his life in go off and not come back.
Yeah.
And the people even that came back are so scarred from what they saw and what they had to do that they're completely different.
It'll be
people.
Memories of his own to say that
Yep.
he'll remember being in those trenches as well. So look at the mechanism. I believe he had gas. He had a medical discharge. Come back because of the mustard gas. So look at the mechanisms in Isengard versus the beauty of Rivendell.
Yeah,
man, I love
night and day.
Yeah. So this is his contrast. He did a lot of this, and this is the quote that I was going to do earlier. Bilbo said, "It is no bad thing to celebrate a simple life." So you have this contrast. Another theme is, and we're going to pull this out more. He actually had a name for this. This is called Eucatastrophe. And before I move on to that, Sam Rogers had a comment. Technology has not made us more moral, just better at being cruel.
In a lot of ways, yes.
Wow.
Technology has also given us a lot of opportunities. I mean, it'd be crazy to see what his thoughts would be of the internet.
Yeah, we're able to do this. I wanted to be a missionary when I was younger, and think about how we're able to talk to people.
Let's see, we got people from Australia on this live stream here talking with us.
Greece,
Canada.
That's like so far
right
away.
There. Just those three by themselves. We've already stretched over the entire world.
Yeah, seriously.
Let's see. We've been doing this for 40 minutes. So 40 minutes, the entire world. You can't even fly that fast.
Yeah, that is true. And Fellowship of the Ring was published in 1954.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
So that was after.
I was getting a little confused.
That was after World War II. And I know because I've seen a lot of parallels between Mordor and was doing right. And how Mordor handled it and a lot
but he hated analogy, so I don't know if he would have really have put that, but
I think it would have been influenced no matter how it would have been, because that's the world he was living in.
Correct.
Things he was dealing with.
Right.
So even if you don't want to put it in there, he still ends up.
So he has this word called eucatastrophe, and this is a word that he created, Tolkien. A eucatastrophe is a sudden turn of events in a story which ensures that the protagonist does not meet some terrible, impending, and very improbable doom. This happens a lot in stories, but he kind of coined the phrase. And by the way, his impact on literature, especially fantasy, we're going to be going over that extensively later, but that's huge. Not today.
I'd say he probably has more impact than anyone else as far as fantasy goes.
Oh yeah.
As far as even just general. I mean, there's still studies on the stuff that he was putting out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. Him and C.S. Lewis, both of them just.
Oh yeah, we're gonna hit that hard for Friday.
Hard.
I'm literally looking forward to Friday when we do the theology of Tolkien. There's so much history. You almost do two live streams on that just in itself. So I'm going to put up a couple others. I did not read this. I'm going on faith here, guys. Going on faith. Yes, the scene where Arwen carries Frodo on her white horse, passes the river, evokes the waters to attack the Nazguls that turn into white horse like waves. Reminds me of John Revelation 19:11-16. Yeah, there's some of this is just like it's in there, man. It's in there, and that was a great scene. The cinematography on here was top notch, and I think the CGI is still aged pretty well. I don't think there's some that you look in there and say, okay,
but even then,
green screen that,
knowing that that's back then, you give a lot of grace for that. I mean, there's still nothing there. I would even go out on a limb here and say that there has not been nothing as impactful since that was released, as far as movies go.
As the epic. Let's not talk about the Rings of Power.
No, I'm just saying in general.
I know.
Other movies, anything like that, I'd say that these three movies were on a completely different level.
Right.
Than anything else either released after that
You might say
all.
the MCU has captivated some of that in some ways. It's a
Some, but
different
not-
flavor. It's not
not at the same level. I wouldn't say any of them
No.
at the same level either.
no.
So even with it being a bit aged,
Right.
it's
right.
still ridiculous.
Okay, so I want to go one last theme here. I don't want to take too long, but one last theme: Tolkien's pessimism, and this is what I was alluding to earlier. The pessimism with an ultimate hope. Now, I talked about this yesterday. Tolkien painted a world in a cyclical downward spiral until the end of the age. In his worldview, the world is ruled by destiny, calamity, judgment, victory, destiny, calamity, justice, victory. It has this cycle that goes through and through and through, but it continually goes down. When they talk about the men of the West being corrupted and stuff like that in the good old days, that's what he's talking about. So why this downward spiral? That's what I want to talk about. And it's really dark. What hope is there? We live in a fallen world where the second law of thermodynamics rules and heads us all towards a decay and the heat death of the universe, the final closing of all things. There is no way out. We're all doomed. We're all dead. This is billions of years from now, if you follow that chain of thought. But as human beings, our time in this universe is even limited. So the universe itself is limited, and our time in this universe is limited. Even if you take a totally secular viewpoint, the human race, it's it. In the final end of things, if you're without God, it all ends. It all ends. Nothing remains. It's dust, death, coldness, decay, darkness. That's how it ends. If you cling to a creation, it's like all living organs are simply adapting. And in that adaptation, nothing says that we're getting smarter or better or faster or stronger. We're only creating offspring that have a better chance of surviving in our environment. That's it. Not that we're getting necessarily smarter. There's nothing in evolutionary theology thinking that says that. Our environment, if our environment favors idiots, sucking at the teat of government, then we will evolve into that or devolve. So whether you take a creationist viewpoint or a purely evolutionary viewpoint, you still end in a world of darkness. The end is coming, no matter what. Gandalf said to Elrond, "It is men that we must put our hope." And Elrond says, Men are weak. The blood of Númenor has all been spent. Its pride and dignity forgotten. It is because of men that the ring survives. I was there, Gandalf. I was there 3,000 years ago, and I was there the day the strength of man failed. Sort of like Bilbo, who said, it's like butter spread over too much bread. So Tolkien in all this had hope, not in this world, but in the one to come. He shows it in the elves sailing west for the Undying Lands, the voyage to Vinland as portrayed in the Old Norse sagas and Arthurian legends. And I am done with my soapbox. But this is all to say, this downward spiral, this theme that we see behind everything, so dark. You know, the good guys die, poor Boromir.
I mean, this movie does leave it on a pretty dark level too.
The only hope, even though, you're right, because even though we do have the king, he returns and everything like that at the end. I'm talking not just this book specifically, but the entire series. Yeah, even though the king has returned, it's not like the strength of old. Those days are gone.
So, but in this movie, talking about this one, because that's the one we're doing. Then it leaves in a dark spot. You know, Merry and Pippin are both captured. They're both taken. The Fellowship of the Ring is just absolutely destroyed. Gandalf is dead. Frodo and Sam have gone off on their own. And then you got Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli, who are now just trying to help their friends who have been taken captive. It leaves it in a dark and sad place. And it doesn't leave it on a happy note.
But that's that Eucatastrophe. There's this tragedy that happens that has to happen before it opens it up, and
that leads to a catalyst for the next one
yes,
that we'll be doing tomorrow.
That's right. I'm going to throw up a couple more comments here. Survival of the fittest favors immorality. I think you meant immorality. One word.
It does. It does, because if you are the only one who survives and just takes out everyone else, then yes, you are better off for it. You got more resources, you've got more assets. Maybe you keep one woman alive, so you have, breeding opportunities. That if you go with extreme immorality, just throw that out the window. That would be the optimal for you personally.
Yes. Yeah. And if you look at this, evolution would favor maybe patience, maybe wrath, maybe gluttony. Yeah, all these sins are justified for the sake of survival.
You try to say, well, no, they need to rely on others, so that it's actually better if you coexist together. No, it's better if you use people and you're on top.
Well, it depends.
From an evolutionary standpoint, for you personally. Again,
Sam follows up with this: if there is no God, good and evil are just man-made concepts. Yes, there is no definition of what good and evil is.
You have no more. Yeah, absolute morality versus personal morality.
Maybe the only good in strict evolutionary terms is survival. Whatever it takes to survive. So if you're in a boat that is capsized and everybody's drowning, if you push the guy next to you down so you can use him as a flotation device and you end up drowning him, that's a good thing.
According to that. Right.
So you can go off and procreate and have little greedy drowning babies.
Yeah.
Going off on everybody else.
But then that leads to a very sad reality.
Yep. I wonder how atheism affects storytelling if morality is just man-made concept. Holy cow. We're going to be going over the impact of different philosophies on storytelling, specifically science fiction, a little bit of fantasy or two. I'm going to start doing a series on that, and definitely atheism is a big part of it. Atheism justifies all sorts of things. Indeed, the feeling of left at the end is extra bitter.
You're talking about the end of this movie.
Oh,
being extra bitter.
Oh, yeah. You want to see what's going to happen next, though, in the next one. Sorry, using voice. That's what I figured. Look into the words that are using voice chat, trying to speak it in to get it to yeah. Hopefully you're not driving at the same time while listening to this.
Please do not drive and watch this video at the same time. I'd rather you be
alive.
You
know what? I bet Sam's driving on the wrong side of the road listening to this. I think they do that down there, down under. Sam, I would say that it doesn't. Dude, I have no idea. We're so late in the comments. I have no idea.
Probably the better part would be the reaction to right above it. It doesn't leave it an extra bitter spot.
Okay.
I wouldn't say bitter. I'd say sad, but yet gearing up with the potential of hope in the next one.
Okay. So we're going to switch on. I'm going to switch on over. I do want to cover one other thing. I know this is a long live stream, but it's been fun with the interaction and everything. And that is the omissions and the additions to this film. I can't wait for the atheism. You have fallen far from grace. If you want to hear that. No, I'm just messing with you. You're good. You're good. Tom, the omissions in this story that we're talking just, I want to go not just for this film, but for others, because we're going to be talking about some other issues tomorrow that are going to be for all three films in this one too. But specifically in this one omission that I'm glad that they omitted was Tom Bombadil.
That might be a controversial.
Yeah, I don't think it would have helped with the pacing to put him in here. He's an interesting character. He was not affected by the ring. And
that goes into his whole history of what he
is, like what actually is Gandalf, not just who he is, but what he is.
And why is the ring so specifically dangerous to him?
To Gandalf?
To Gandalf.
Yes, good question.
That goes again into his nature.
Into Galadriel. Faramir's another thing that they changed, and I was going to say with Tom Bombadil, I think that was a good one. You guys might feel differently about it, but Faramir's character arc, it was different in the book. In the book, he was portrayed as wise and noble leader. In the film, he introduces elements of conflict with Daddy. The whole thing with Denethor was not so much in the book at all. There is somebody else that rescues. Glorfindel rescues Frodo from the Nazgul instead of Arwen. Elrond's council was longer. They made it briefer for the movie, and I think you needed to. A lot of this has to do with pacing. And if you can represent something in an image, you don't need to spend as much time with it. But you can read the book and get a lot more thought and detail that was going into it. There's a lot more philosophy, I think, that's in the book that you can get. And I'm glad that they left some things. But one thing that they took out that I really wish they didn't. Now, these are epic books. They did a really good job following the story. I think of any movie that came out after a book made based on a book, I point to this trilogy to say, this is the closest I think I've ever seen.
I was surprised when I read the book after watching the movie and be like, wow, they really stuck to it. Something fierce. All in all.
They do. But one thing I wish that they would have had, and this is the heroes, because Sam and Frodo are going on this hero's journey, and Merry and Pippin, and they're coming back. And one of the good things about the hero's journey is you get to see the before and after characters in it, what they were like before, and they return. Timid, naive about the world, coming back hardened. And it was really exemplified in the book. And if you have a chance to read the book, please do, because the scouring of the Shire done by Saruman.
Again, that's in the last one. But yes.
I know, but I'm covering all the differences here at one shot. The scouring of the Shire was done, and it was really good because when they come back, you get to see how different they are and how they're able to defeat Saruman. I will go over tomorrow. I will go over the additions that were made. Yep. I will go over the additions. So these are some of the subtractions, the omissions that were taken. Tomorrow we'll go over the additions in all three stories. And comments. Down under, we drive upside down.
I saw that one. I was laughing at it.
I don't know if I've ever heard that before. That's pretty good. Funny. For you guys, it's probably, we all heard this before. So, yeah, that's good. Trivia. I do want to do a couple of things of trivia, and then I'll skip the quotes for next time because we've got a long live stream, but it's been good and fun. Sir Christopher Lee, who played Saruman, read The Lord of the Rings once a year until his death in 2015, and had done so since the year it was published. So he he knew this story.
He knew it in and out. So I think that's one of the advantages that this one had over like the Rings of Power that come out recently. Is that people actually read the material, loved the material, wanted.
He was involved with
it. Was more. There's passion in it. They don't see in the Rings of Power where the people loved the material and wanted to bring it to reality. Yeah. And I think that came out in the acting as well as the directing and the writing. That's why I believe why they stuck so tight to the books is because they loved them.
Yeah, they did.
And that paid out in spades.
Mm-hmm. And he was also... So this is Sir Christopher, I say Sir Christopher Lee, and his voice is great. It's so dramatic. You got that British accent and that deep bass voice. He was the only one of the actors who had actually met J.R.R. Tolkien.
Wow. To know personally and then go and play in the movie.
Yeah.
Man, that would be...
I don't know if he heard,
cool.
If he went to, Wingnut Productions or whenever went to these guys and said, I hear that you're starting this movie. I want to be a part of it. Okay, you're a hobbit. No, not with his height. Speaking of height, despite playing the dwarf, the actor who played Gimli was the tallest of all the actors.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've seen him in other ones, Sliders.
Yes. He was 6'1".
Yeah. And they made him a dwarf.
They made him a dwarf. The director, Peter Jackson, gave one of the rings used in the movie. So the prop gave one because they had a couple. gave one of them to Elijah Wood and one to Andy Serkis, who played Gollum.
So Elijah Wood is Legolas, right?
No, Frodo.
Frodo. Okay,
Frodo.
so
Sorry.
Frodo.
So Frodo gave one to the actor who played Frodo, and the other
One,
to the
two.
actor. Here,
There's
you have
irony.
this ring. And both of them thought, when this is all done, they both thought they was the only one.
Oh boy.
So, yeah, I'm going to read a couple
Got
of...
the one ring. He's also got the one ring.
That's right. So I'm going to read a couple of these comments here, and we'll wrap it up. We've got Dracuman Isgul said, yes, that was Christopher Lee.
Oh, yeah.
played Dracula. He's in a lot of movies. This goes back. I remember
one was
seeing
that one?
Space 1999, what I'd like to do a review on. He was an alien in that one as well. We got...
So he did that, and then they had, who is it? I think he interacted with one of the characters that was CGI that they had to fill in later. No. That was when he was playing in Star Wars, because they had a Yoda. He was supposed to be fighting Yoda.
Oh,
and part of that, because he talked about
Yeah,
Dracula.
gosh,
he had. It
What did
was
he play? What was
Attack
it?
of the Clones. He was Count Dooku.
Dooku. That's right.
So he's Count Dooku in that one, and because he did Dracula, they had a Yoda head as a stand-in, and they put Dracula fangs over Yoda just for the fun of it.
That's pretty funny.
So just as a reference to that.
Yeah, I guess so. All right. We'll wrap it up there, and I'm going to give a couple nods to what's coming up the line. Thank you guys for all your participation, and I got to get rid of...
You gotta remember to remove these comments.
I know.
I know you like the audience that much that you just want to make them a part
That's what
of
it
this.
is. Okay, so we did this one today. We're going to be doing, the Two Towers. We're doing, I took it off. We're doing the Two Towers tomorrow. Take my word for it. And then we're doing the Return of the King on Thursday. And Friday, we're going to wrap it up with the theology of Tolkien. I'm really looking forward to that. And I mentioned this guy earlier. I'm going to put him on here, Andy Serkis. This is before and after. Okay, this is showing how they age over time. That actor, I don't know if he's going to be with us long. It looks like he's on his last leg. He's a poor guy.
It's a little creepy.
Yes, it is a little creepy. And again, oh yeah, sleep during the day, dude. I see how it is. Sleep during the day.
Now, next week we are looking at doing some Christmas shows. So if you guys have any suggestions on that, that'd be good to have in the comments.
You really want to open that up, huh?
Yes, I do want to open that up
Okay.
because we should evaluate.
Next Monday, we're
their
going to be
favorites
talking
are.
about God's perfect timing, about the birth of Christ being at just the right time, and why that is. You can look at history and all these things come together as this fulcrum. And even if you want to say BCE or Common Era or anything like that, you still look at the birth of Christ being the fulcrum of ancient and modern history. There you go. Can't get away from that.
I'll dislike any video that uses BCE.
Yeah. Yep.
Or whatever any other acronym other than Christ in it. I will dislike the video.
All right. Until then, enjoy the rest of your day. Well, you got one more?
No, removing the comment.
Okay.
Remove the
I
comment.
just love the comments. I don't know what to tell you. The rest of the day, and we'll see you tomorrow for another Lord of the Rings movie.